Welcome back to the deep dive. We look at the metrics you track every day, the macros, sleep scores, lifting volume, and we try to show you elements of optimization you might be missing. If you're serious about strength, you are meticulous, right? You
Yeah.
optimize everything, build the strongest, most resilient body possible.
That's definitely the modern athlete's mindset. I mean, every single variable gets scrutinized. Your pre-sleep routine, recovery timelines, anything for that edge.
Exactly. But here's where things get, well, really interesting and honestly totally counterintuitive. Our deep dive into the clinical sources today, it reveals this pretty significant paradox. The very activities designed to forge that strong body-heavy weightlifting, maximal effort stuff,
Yeah.
they're inadvertently causing severe, often irreversible damage to the body's absolute hardest tissues, your teeth.
And we're finding it's not just, a bit of wear and tear, it's systematic. It looks like it's driven by three main things that kind of interact during training.
Okay, so that's our mission today. We want to connect these dots for you. We're looking at the mechanical damage from clenching your jaw,
Right.
the physiological changes like your mouth getting dry,
Mm-hmm.
and then the chemical assault from, well, certain nutritional habits.
And understanding this is, frankly, essential. The data is pretty clear. Poor oral health doesn't just stay in your mouth. It hits your training quality, your performance, ups your injury risk, and can even affect your career longevity. It's like this hidden performance leak.
A leak you need to plug. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
let's unpack this. Starting with the first, maybe most obvious problem. The sheer crushing force. During those max lifts, why do we even clench? Is it just a bad habit, or is there like a reason we automatically do it when bracing for a PR?
Oh, it's absolutely instinctive. That's the biomechanical impact we mentioned. That forceful clench, which you might not even realize you're doing, it stabilizes your whole kinetic chain, your head, your neck, your spine. Think about a heavy squat or deadlift. Clenching helps turn your body into a more solid unit, which, helps with power output.
So, okay, we're doing it to be stronger in that specific moment.
Precisely. But when it happens over and over, really forcefully, during waking hours, well, we call that awake bruxism. It's a parafunctional habit, basically putting immense abnormal stress on your teeth, your muscles, and those jaw joints, the TMJ.
And why does it happen so intensely during lifting?
It gets ramped up by something called neuromuscular overflow. The intense focus needed to recruit big muscle groups kind of spills over into your jaw muscles, which are also very powerful. Plus focus, maybe even a little anxiety.
Right, right. So what's the actual damage pathway? If I'm really bearing down on a heavy deadlift, what gives first?
Okay, first up is attrition. That's tooth-on-tooth grinding. It wears away the protective enamel. You'll see flattened, biting surfaces, teeth getting shorter, and then the softer dentin underneath gets exposed. That means sensitivity, cold drinks, even air sometimes.
Ouch. But I imagine the bigger, more immediate risk involves things actually breaking.
It does. Those repetitive, high-force impacts start tiny little craze lines in the enamel, microscopic at first, but they can grow into significant cracks and fractures. The sources we looked at, they warn that just one powerful clench during a max effort lift could potentially fracture a cusp, break off a piece of your tooth.
Wow. That's an immediate problem. An emergency, really. Stops you training right there.
Absolutely. And the strain isn't just on the teeth themselves.
Right. You mentioned the joints, the TMJ.
Exactly. That chronic high-intensity load on the jaw hinges is a major driver of temporomandibular disorders, or TMD. Ever wake up with a headache that feels like it's behind your temples? Or get jaw pain when you chew? That could be TMD.
What are the symptoms to look out for?
Well, myofascial pain, that's muscle pain in the jaw area. Headaches, like I said, sometimes joint clicking or popping. Doctors call it crepitus, even
Yeah.
restricted jaw movement.
Okay, let's put some numbers on this. You mentioned a 2024 study comparing experienced fitness trainers to non-athletes. What did that actually show?
Yeah, the comparison is pretty stark. First, the habit itself. The trainers were almost twice as likely to clench. Think 86.7% of trainers versus 46.7% of non-athletes.
Almost 9 out of 10 trainers clenching.
Right. But look at the physical damage. Dental cracks, more than double in the trainer group. 80% of trainers had cracks versus about 33% in the control group.
Hold on. 8 out of 10. 80% of experienced trainers had measurable cracks in their teeth. That's huge, pervasive. And you guys actually measured the force they were generating, didn't you?
We did, yeah. The trainers generated, on average, 34% more bout force. We're talking 12,224 newtons compared to about 909 for non-athletes.
1,200 newtons. That's a lot of force.
It is enough force to compress the joint, potentially restrict movement, and objectively, the study found trainers had a measurably smaller maximum mouth opening, That's a clinical sign linked to TMJ issues.
What's really fascinating, or maybe ironic, is the performance angle. If clenching helps stabilize me for that lift, what does the research say about my strength long term?
Well, there's a systematic review that found weightlifters do have a high prevalence of bruxism, around 50%, which is way above the general population. But,
Mhm.
and this is the kicker, that same review showed athletes who are diagnosed with bruxism actually exhibit statistically significant reductions in strength, endurance, and coordination.
Wait, hang on. So my instinct to clench to feel stronger
Mm.
is actually making me weaker overall.
It gets worse. The data also shows those athletes with diagnosed bruxism have a 2.5-fold higher risk of injury.
2.5 times.
Yeah, so that short-term instinct to clench, it systematically undermines the very things you're trying to improve as a lifter. Managing bruxism isn't just about saving your teeth, it's crucial for performance and staying injury-free.
Wow. That is the definition of irony right there.
Mhm.
Okay, let's pivot a bit. If mechanical force is enemy number one, let's talk about the chemical side, the environment we put our teeth in during a workout. You mentioned a compromised defense system.
Exactly. Beyond the physical force, the training environment itself becomes really hostile chemically. It often starts with exercise-induced dry mouth or xerostomia. Intense exercise usually means heavy mouth breathing, maybe some dehydration, and that leads to a rapid drop in salivary flow.
And remind us, for anyone who doesn't know, why is saliva so critical?
Saliva is basically your mouth's natural defense force. It neutralizes acids from food or drinks. It has calcium and phosphate to help remineralize enamel, and it washes away food debris and bacteria. When that flow decreases, the whole system weakens. Acids hang around longer, bacteria can multiply, risk for cavities, gingivitis, even bad breath goes way up.
Okay, so you've got this vulnerable, dry environment,
Uh-huh.
and then we introduce what you call the triple threat of sports nutrition, which sounds like a recipe for acid erosion. Let's start with the obvious ones, sports and energy drinks.
Yeah, they're often high in sugar, obviously, but maybe even more dangerous is the high acidity. Some energy drinks can have a pH as low as 2.75. That's incredibly acidic.
How bad is that compared to, say, water?
Some studies suggest these drinks can be 30 times more erosive than plain water, and the way people often drink them, sipping over an hour-long workout, that creates this prolonged acid bath where the mouth never really gets a chance to buffer itself back to neutral.
Right. Then there are pre-workouts,
Uh-huh.
often loaded with acidic things like citric acid for taste, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned a really worrying trend, dry scooping.
Yes, dry scooping, taking the powder straight, no water. It's devastating for teeth. You're basically bathing your teeth in highly concentrated, undiluted acidic powder. It can cause severe, really rapid enamel erosion. Plus, many pre-workouts are high in caffeine, which is a diuretic. That just makes the dry mouth problem even worse.
Okay, what about protein powders?
Okay.
People often think of those as being, less problematic, not sugary.
Well, even ones that aren't perceived as sugary often contain things like glucose or maltodextrin. Those are fermentable carbs. They might be there for mixability or texture. There was actually a study showing that frequent protein supplement use was significantly linked to more cavities and gingivitis in bodybuilders.
So this really raises a critical question. What happens when these two things collide? You've got the biomechanical stress making tiny cracks,
Right.
and then you add this chemical assault, this acid bath, especially in a dry mouth.
The damage isn't just additive, it becomes exponential. Think about it. The clenching creates physical defects, micro cracks, worn spots. The dry mouth means no protective saliva buffer. Then the acidic supplements seep into those tiny cracks, essentially dissolving the weakened tooth structure from the inside out. So the athlete who clenches is dehydrated and uses acidic supplements. Their risk skyrockets.
Okay. This sounds pretty bad, but you said it's preventable. So since the risk is coming from multiple angles, the solution needs to be multi-pronged too. Let's talk comprehensive defense, starting with managing that force. The mount guard seems key.
Absolutely. For a weightlifter, the main job of a mouth guard is force management. Cushioning and spreading out that, 1,200 Newton clench force helps prevent the wear, the attrition, and hopefully the fractures. But critically, it's not a one-size-fits-all thing.
Right, we see that hierarchy. Stock guards are cheap, but bulky. They can even make you clench more just to hold them in place.
Exactly. Boil and bite are better. They offer some customization. But the danger there is when you bite down during the fitting process, you can make the protective material really thin right on the biting surfaces exactly where you need it most.
So the best option is?
The gold standard is definitely the custom fabricated guard, made by a dentist from a precise impression of your teeth. It offers the best fit, maximum protection, stays in place. And if you have TMJ issues, a dentist, maybe one specializing in neuromuscular dentistry, can design it to create a more balanced bite, reducing strain on the jaw joint itself.
Okay. And you mentioned a really clever, low-cost way for someone to figure out if they even have a bruxism problem they're unaware of.
Yeah, it's a simple diagnostic test, really. Get an inexpensive boil and bite guard, wear it for just a week of your heavy training sessions, then take it out and look closely. If you see clear indentations, bite marks, maybe the material looks kind of chewed up or shredded,
That's your proof.
that's your tangible, undeniable evidence that you're clenching forcefully, even if you don't realize it. That visual can be a powerful motivator to then invest in a proper custom guard.
Great tip. Okay, moving to the chemical threat. How do we mitigate that?
Strategy here is mostly about dilution and timing. First, hydration is key. Prioritize plain water, especially tap water, if it's fluoridated before, during, and after training. Combat that dry mouth.
And be smarter about the supplements.
Definitely. If you use acidic drinks, try not to sip them over a long period. Consume them relatively quickly. And immediately after you finish, rinse your mouth thoroughly with plain water. Swish it around. Helps neutralize the pH right away.
And please, let's say it again.
Absolutely avoid dry scooping. Please, mix the powder with water like it's intended.
Also worth checking labels, right? What should people look for?
Yeah, be aware of ingredients like citric acid, ascorbic acid, and look out for those hidden sugars or fermentable carbs like maltodextrin, even in things like protein powders.
Okay, besides guards and smarter supplement use, what about tackling the reflex itself? The clenching.
Right, behavioral modification. We need to bring some conscious effort to it. Conscious breathing is one tool. Since holding your breath often triggers a stronger clench, try to sync your breathing with the lift. Maybe inhale on the way down, the eccentric phase.
And a forceful exhale during the lift, the concentric phase.
Exactly. Helps regulate tension, might mitigate some of that breath-holding clench.
And just being more aware of your jaw position.
Simple jaw awareness, yeah. Make a conscious effort sometimes during the day or even between sets to check in. Is your jaw clenched? Try to keep it relaxed, teeth slightly apart. A good technique is to rest the tip of your tongue gently on the roof of your mouth, just behind your upper front teeth. That naturally encourages a relaxed jaw position.
Okay. And finally, oral hygiene specifics around training.
Yeah, couple of key points. Brushing before a workout can be good. It reduces the amount of plaque bacteria ready to feast on any sugars from your supplements. But the really critical thing is the post-supplement protocol. You absolutely must avoid brushing for at least 30 to 60 minutes after consuming anything acidic. Sports drinks, pre-workouts, even fruit juice.
Why wait? That seems counterintuitive too.
Because the acid temporarily softens the enamel surface. If you go at it immediately with a toothbrush and abrasive toothpaste, you can literally scrub away that weakened layer. It's called abrasion.
Oof. So what should you do instead?
Rinse thoroughly with plain water immediately after you finish the supplement. Let your saliva do its job for a while, naturally buffering the pH back up. Then, after 30-60 minutes, it's safe to brush.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. To summarize the findings from this deep dive, heavy weightlifting can damage your teeth. It seems predictable, driven by this combo of clenching, dry mouth, and supplement chemistry.
But, and this is the important part, it seems entirely preventable with these kinds of proactive measures we've discussed.
Right, oral health isn't just some side issue. It really seems like an integral part of peak performance, long-term athletic health, affecting injury risk, maybe even inflammation levels.
Absolutely. And think back to that irony. The instinct to clench gives a tiny bit of momentary stability.
But undermines long-term strength and jacks up injury risk by 2.5 times.
Exactly.
So here's the final thought for you listening. If managing bruxism, managing this clenching, is actually a critical part of optimizing athletic performance, how many potential PRs or weeks stuck on a training plateau might be unconsciously sabotaged by just this one unmanaged habit? Something to think about as you plan your next heavy session.